Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
ABC Wednesday.
I'm Joan, and I'm your first Golden Bachelorette.
Joan's getting a second chance.
This is about everybody like me, navigating, trying to find love at this age.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't have hope.
Because love never ages.
Golden age doesn't mean you're old. Old is a state of mind, like a lot of living to do.
The Golden Bachelorette. Series premiere Wednesday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
This is not how sane people act.
If you just read the bio for Dr. Steve, host of Weird Medicine on Sirius XM 103 and made popular by two really comedy shows, Opie and Anthony and Ron and Fez, you would have thought that this guy was a bit of, a clown.
Why can't you give me the respect that I'm entitled to?
I've got diphtheria crushing my esophagus. I've got Ebola virus dripping from my nose. I've got the leprosy of the heart valve, exacerbating my incredible woes. I want to take my brain now and blast it with the wave, an ultrasonic echographic and a pulsating shave. I want a magic pill for all my ailments, the health equivalent of Citizen Kane. And if I don't get it now in the tablet, I think I'm doomed and I'll have to go insane. I want a requiem for my disease, so I'm paging Dr. Steve. Dr. Steve!
From the world-famous Cardiff Electric Network studios in beautiful downtown Bedabbler City, it's Weird Medicine, the first and still only uncensored medical show in the history of broadcast radio, now a podcast. Dr. Steve with my little pal, Dr. Scott, the traditional Chinese medicine provider who gives me street cred, the whack alternative medicine assholes. Hello, Dr. Scott.
Hey, Dr. Steve.
And my partner in all things, Tacie. Hello, Tacie.
Hello.
This is a show for people who have never listened to a medical show on the radio or the internet. If you have a question you're embarrassed to take to your regular medical provider, if you can't find an answer anywhere else, give us a call at 347-766-4323. That's 347-POOHEAD. Follow us on Twitter at Weird Medicine or at DrScottWM. Visit our website at drsteve.com for podcasts, medical news, and stuff you can buy. Most importantly, we are not your medical providers. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Don't act on anything you hear on this show without talking it over with your healthcare provider. All right, very good. Please check out stuff.drsteve.com. That's stuff.drsteve.com. When I have time, I'll make it a little bit better, but still it's usable. I think. I don't know if it's actually working because the affiliate links are old, but it's fine. You still get some discounts on stuff. Check it out, stuff.drsteve.com, roadie.drsteve.com. NP Mel B got her roadie coach in the mail yesterday, and so she's going to plop it on that guitar, and she's going to come in here, and we're going to see in like 6 weeks what she's learned.
Okay, cool.
Okay, she's motivated.
And she's never played anything.
And she's never played an instrument.
Yep.
So that's going to be very interesting. And I'm quite confident that the roadie people will not be disappointed. But she'll have her honest review of it.
Yep.
But check it out at roadie, roadie.drsteve.com. Or you can just go to stuff.drsteve.com and scroll down. It's right there. But they have the roadie robotic tuners and then the roadie coach that just teaches you how to play a damn instrument.
Cool.
I wonder if it would teach me how to play the mandolin, because that's an instrument I have known nothing about. I'll have to look at that.
I'm sure it probably would, yeah.
I might buy one.
Yeah.
Anyway, All right. Check out Dr. Scott's website at simplyherbals.net, simplyherbals.net. Our Patreon has had a lot more stuff going on there. I uploaded a 5-segment show from November of 2009. That was an old school one where we were at the Sirius XM studios, and it was divided up into 5 commercial segments. And I just uploaded one segment every day for 5 days. I'm putting all of my Dr. Steve Presents stuff on Patreon first. And there may even be some of that's just for Patreon. We'll see. But the first one is on I talk about it. I'll talk about it later. But anyway, check that out. Patreon.com/weirdmedicine. Tacie and I will at some point do a couple of shows again where we answer Patreon-only questions. And if you ask a question in the Patreon chat room or in anything, if you're a subscriber through Patreon, we will 100% answer your question. Cameo.com/weirdmedicine. I have fun with that. And, I dropped my price again to like $5 just so I can do a bunch of them because I love doing them. They're just so... It's fun to do. I like them. I would do them for free if they would let me. And all the proceeds go to a good cause, that being my ham radio hobby.
Oh, my
Lord. All proceeds from the Cameo go toward getting a moon bounce station set up with my buddy Dale. So there you go. All right, very good. Don't forget to check out Dr. Scott's website at simplyherbals.net. That's simplyherbals.net. Everything going okay over there, Dr. Scott?
Yes, sir. Going well, thank you. 'Tis the season for allergies, that's for sure.
It's the best CBD nasal spray in the world, in my opinion. That's my opinion. No scientific, studies have been done to back that statement up. But we did have somebody call, and I know I was told this story before, that said that they bought somewhere else and said it sucked. So there you go.
That's all we need. That's all
I need to hear. Yeah, that's right. All right, very good. Okay, so hello, everyone.
Hello.
A couple of things. If you look at our Patreon, it's patreon.com/weirdmedicine. When I was doing, I still am. I'm doing some work for Normal World with Dave Landau.
Okay.
One of the things, they send in questions, and then I answer them. The last one was on urethral sounding, and I tried to make it as gross as I could because when they're gross, they can't not talk about it after it's over. Mm-hmm. They can't just go, okay, well, let's talk about Kim Jong-un next. It stops the conversation cold. Like the next one's on asparagus piss. That might engender some discussion about, well, can you smell asparagus piss? But the one on Fournier gangrene, spoiler alert, being the worst way to die, or this one on urethral sounding, which sounding is when you take some instrument and put it in the urethral meatus, a.k.a. the cock hole, and stick it down into your bladder. Now, the term sounding comes from, and just go watch it on Dave's show. It was on this last Thursday, but and I'll end up posting the video by itself eventually. But sounding comes from the nautical term, where they would take knotted ropes, and they would put them over the side of a boat, and then they could measure how deep the water was, probably in the sound or whatever. Okay. And they could tell if they were in deep water or too shallow to proceed, that kind of stuff. And then in medicine, we use the term sounding anytime that we're trying to see how deep something is remotely by sticking a stick in there, sort of thing, a rod of some sort, a rod into your rod. And so people started doing this stuff, and then what happens is they go, whoop, 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 and it slips, and it's, and then it slips in, and they can't get it back out. Now, this is not like shoving something up your rear end and getting it stuck. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you might be able to get it out and avoid trip to the emergency room. When you let go of something and it goes up your urethra and you can't see the end of it to pull it back out again, it's going to be removed surgically.
Yep.
And that you can't, there's no sort of fiction that we all agree on like we do with ass foreign objects, because you could just say, well, I've sat on it. And that's just say you sat on it.
Million to one, Doc.
No one will
know.
No one will, well, they'll know, but they won't say anything. It's
Right.
sort of a way to save face. But there's no way you can just say, well, I somehow walked into my cell phone cord and now it's in my bladder. It just, there's no, so you're just going to have to say I was messing with myself and lost this thing. So don't do that.
Yep.
They make things. They even sell them at Amazon.
Oh, wow.
So yes, and they have a bulbous end so you can't lose it in your bladder. Some people get sexual pleasure out of this. You can. There are downsides. You can perforate your urethra. You can get an infection in there. There's all kinds of things that you can do. So if you're going to engage in this sort of activity, then read up on it. Find out the safe way to do it if you're so inclined. Even talk to your primary care if you want to, but know what you're doing before you do it, and use an instrument that's made for it,
right?
As opposed to like a stick.
Yeah,
because people do that. One guy was shoving wasps up his, urethra. It's like, why would you do such a thing?
Wasps?
Yes.
Oh my!
Just to be weird.
Yeah. I thought the plug-in cord for an Apple phone was weird enough.
Well, this thing that I did for Normal World has X-rays of that. Jeez. And that's like, hey, you think I'm kidding? Here's an X-ray of a guy who shoved his cell phone cable up his urethra and it had to be removed surgically. Here's a guy that shoved 82 magnetic balls in there and couldn't get them out, and they had to be retrieved surgically. Do you see a pattern?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, was it the record number of metal balls being
I think
shoved?
the record number was 87. And it was a 10-year-old kid.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Metal balls can be very dangerous for little kids, by the way.
Yeah.
If they swallow one, not a big deal.
Right.
But if they swallow two and they get separated, like, if they stick together and they go through together, the kid will be okay. Mm-hmm. But if they swallow one today and then another one tomorrow or 4 hours later and they get separated, now one of them is traveling into the small bowel, the other one's behind it, and when they pass by each other, in different loops of bowel, what's going to happen?
Right.
Dink!
Yeah, they'll stick.
It locks them together and you get a bowel obstruction. Yep. So metal balls, don't give those to kids. They're not kidding. That's a swallowing risk. Okay. Fun fact from your old pal, Dr. Steve.
Goodness gracious.
All right, Tacie, you got some things for us today?
I sure do.
Let's do it.
It's Tacie's time of topics. A time for Tacie to discuss topics of the day. Not to be confused with Topic Time with Harrison Young, which is copyrighted by Harrison Young and Area 58 Public Access. And now, here's Tacie.
I probably need to go ahead and just shorten that at some point.
I like it.
Oh, you do?
Go ahead and just grab a cup of coffee today, my friends. Article 1. Could this toad psychedelic venom be the next big thing in antidepressants?
Uh-oh.
Behold the Colorado River toad.
Okay.
Also known as a Sonoran desert toad. These bulbous fellows pack a psychedelic punch.
Well, make up your mind. You live in the desert or in the river?
Just below the surface. Their venom, which can secrete through glands on their skin, contains a hallucinogenic compound, which the scientists behind a new study say could be a potent antidepressant.
Is that right?
Psychedelics have received a lot of attention in recent years for their potential in treating severe depression. Psilocybin, of magic mushrooms fame, is a big hitter in this arena, with a growing body of research leading scientists to conclude it could be a game changer for some of the hardest to treat cases.
Wow.
Now there's a new psychedelic in town, and it comes all wrapped up in a nice amphibious package.
It's
a
actually...
new study?
I'm sorry. The psychedelic is 5-MeO-DMT.
If you would let me do, that's in the very next sentence. A new study has investigated a modified form of the compound 5-MeO-DMT.
Okay.
There you go.
A relative of DMT that's extracted from the venom of the Colorado river toad.
Huh.
It could be an effective treatment option for depression and anxiety. It's long been understood that this toad's venom can cause intense hallucinations and trippy experiments. That's why authorities constantly telling us, don't lick them.
Right, you remember the Beavis and Butthead when they just cut to them, and one of them had a toad in his mouth, and he was just, it had his ass end in his mouth, and he was just sucking on it. It's a tryptamine psychedelic. Go ahead.
Okay. But how the toads produce their psychoactive slime remains a bit of a mystery, and there are questions to be answered about how the compounds act on the human brain.
Sure.
So they set out to investigate how 5-MeO-DMT interacts with the type of serotonin receptor called the 5-HT1A receptor.
Yes, and that's a serotonin receptor. What's weird is that there's a plant that makes the exact same thing. So you got a toad that makes it and then a plant that makes it. It just shows how nature is pretty efficient when it needs a molecule for something. It doesn't always just reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
It's the seeds of, Anandananthera peregrina seeds. Yeah. And it's heat stable. It can be smoked or insufflated, in other words, snorted. Lasts between 10 minutes for the former if you smoke it, or 2 hours for the latter. And the effects range from radical perspective shifting and perception of new insights, euphoria, immersive experiences, dissociation, and non-responsiveness. In other words, it makes people, stop talking and responding to people.
That's probably
sensual and erotic enhancement. Now listen, anytime there's a new technology, they will co-opt it for porn. And if they find out that this stuff enhances sexual pleasure or the ability to function, that's going to be the first thing that gets patented. The poor depressed and anxious people out there are just going to have to wait if this is the real deal. But anyway.
So it says most research on psychedelics up to now is focused on 5-HT2A, which is also a serotonin receptor.
Right.
Because its key ability to produce hallucinations. Previous research has shown that 5-HT1A was worth a closer look when it comes to developing new and improved antidepressants, but not much was known about how psychedelics interact with the receptor.
Yeah, this stuff's been around for a while. The Church of the Tree of Life, which was a church in California in back in the day in the 70s, they used 5-MeO-DMT as a sacrament. And it was available to their members, and apparently they smoked it on parsley. It was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They tested this stuff with a mouse model of depression.
I wonder how they do that. How do you know if a mouse is depressed?
I don't know. They compared it to LSD as well as existing drugs that target 5-HT1A and found that the toad venom compound had a similar antidepressant and anti-anxiety effect without getting the mice high.
Okay, we got to look up mouse depression. How do they know that?
I don't think just depleting someone of serotonin in your brain is going to necessarily make you depressed. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not going to make you feel good.
You're not going to necessarily feel good, no. But maybe they just have a strain of mice that.
Yeah,
oh man, they look really depressed.
Okay, here we go. Animal model of human behavior represents complex of cognitive and emotional processes. Okay, a behavioral test developed primarily and specifically to verify and support a theory of cognition or emotion. Okay, this paper reviews tests commonly used in novel drug research, focuses especially on tests which can evaluate anxiety-like and depression-like behaviors. Okay, forced swim test, a tail suspension test, and a sucrose preference test. So I guess if they figure if they're depressed, then they may want more sweets.
Yeah, I was going to say they probably eat more sugar.
Yep, and then their tail, if they're depressed, they're dragging their tail.
Dragging their tail.
That's something.
That's crazy.
I used to go to this place. It was, it doesn't matter. It's a town not too far from here where they now have a casino. And back in the day, you could put a quarter in in this machine, and it would play music, and a chicken would come out and dance. And apparently it was Pavlovian, and they would just feed it corn, and it would scratch, and it looked like it was dancing and put it on a turntable. But then I read that they do these like chicken and mouse pain things where they put them on a hot plate, and they see how long it takes them to start dancing around.
Oh, geez.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, it is awful.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, hell, tried to scurry away from the heat.
Yeah, it's poopy.
That's not good.
All right. That's a good one, Tacie.
Good one,
What else you
Okay.
got? So we'll look out for 5-MeO-DMT.
Great.
Yeah.
Great one.
Toad stuff. So the second one is kind of sad. Well, it is sad. Man who receives first pig kidney transplant dies.
Yeah.
So they let him out, and we talked about that. And 2 months after his operation,
what did he die
he
from?
died. Well, he was 62. He was suffering with end-stage kidney disease before undergoing the operation in March.
Right.
There is no indication that the death was the result of the transplant.
He was just sick as hell. That's why they did such an
Kidney,
experimental
yeah.
transplant on him in the first place.
Transplants of other organs from genetically modified pigs have failed in the past, but the operation on Mr. Slayman has held as a historic milestone. In addition to kidney disease, he suffered from type 2 diabetes and hypertension. He had a human kidney transplant, but it began to fail after 5 years.
Yeah.
After his pig kidney transplant on March 16th, his doctors confirmed he no longer needed dialysis after the new organ was said to be functioning well.
That's incredible.
He will be forever seen as a beacon of hope to countless transplant patients worldwide, and we are deeply grateful for his trust and willingness to advance the field of xenotransplantation.
It says here that they're quite convinced it had nothing to do with the kidney.
I was saying, certainly they could do post-mortem on the kidney and see if the kidney was functioning pretty well, yeah.
I'm going to turn Tacie's microphone off for a second. She's getting a phone call. They went 7 weeks. The family said, hey, we're grateful the 7 extra weeks that we got because he was basically dying when they did it. Mm-hmm. And with all of the things that he had, I'm guessing that he probably had a myocardial infarction or a stroke. But that is incredible. Yeah. And do you know how many people are waiting for a transplant right now?
Gosh,
it's about 100,000.
I'd say 100,000. That was my guess. Yep.
And thousands will die every year before they get their transplant. So, this is a good step in the right direction. To have these genetically modified pigs. Now the PETA and the vegans are not going to be happy with just slaughtering pigs wholesale.
No.
But we do anyway. I mean, just go to the grocery store.
Until one of them need a kidney.
Well, maybe. If they stand by their principles, they won't do it. But this is one step in the right direction. What we really want is to be able to grow these from our own cells in a vat somewhere.
Right.
If you've got enough time. If you know you're going to have it down the road, then you just grow the damn thing. If it takes 6 months to grow, then we just have to back up when we start these things.
Wouldn't it be incredible to be able to do genetic testing on someone? So you know what, when you're 28, you're going to need a liver or
let's get your
let's go ahead and start it now.
Let's get it in the bank.
Let's get some cells going. And gosh,
I agree. That would be cool.
That'd be really neat.
Or just give us robot bodies.
There you go.
Yep.
You can see Dr. Steve walking around with his head only on a robot body.
Yeah.
He'd look like some kind of
little squiggly
Greek
legs.
god. No, he would be like have big muscular legs.
You think I would do that?
Oh, I know you would. I know you
I'm on a hoverboard. Just float around. Just be a head floating around.
Oh, that would be great.
Get off my lawn, you shitheads.
Well, it says that
So stupid.
Rick said that one of the reasons he underwent this procedure was to provide hope for the thousands of people who need a transplant to survive. He accomplished that goal, and his hope and optimism will endure forever.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate it.
He was a kind-hearted man with a quick-witted sense of humor who was fiercely dedicated to his family, friends, and coworkers.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Good man.
Two other patients have received pig heart transplants, but those procedures were unsuccessful as the recipients died a few weeks later.
Right. Well, that's coming.
Yeah, they'll be soon.
So, Yeah.
All right, good. Good one, Tace. What else you got?
That's all I got.
Oh, you got it? That's all you got?
Two for two, Tace. We like it.
Yep, very good. All right, you want to answer some questions?
Let's do some
Number
questions.
one thing, don't take advice from some asshole on the radio.
Did you have anything, Scott?
No.
Okay, because you had sent out a couple of things.
Yeah, I sent her one, but I did.
Okay.
I think that we're going to pass on that this week.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, we've got several that I told the people that we're going to be doing them today, and they may be in the fluid family in the waiting room, or with the fluid family in the waiting room. If you want to join, just go to youtube.com/@weirdmedicine and click subscribe and hit the notify button. And then when we go live, if you want to, you can come hang out. We're not a video show, but we have a small group of people that hang out with us while we're doing our radio show. So it's kind of fun. The other thing is I started talking about the Dave Landau stuff, and I got distracted by the urethral sounding. The reason I was telling you that is that because I had to, I've been doing this with them, I've learned how to do some editing in DaVinci Resolve, which is the software that they use. And so I'm starting to do my own. But the first one I did was a little more serious, and it's available to Patreon members first. And it was on borderline personality disorder. And I'm going to do a series of those, just sort of informational things. And then we'll do some more weird stuff. I've got a whole bunch of scripts from Weird Medicine Minutes that I did for Eric Nagel way back in the day that would translate into video really nicely. And they're short, about a minute long. And our video producer, Andy Hines from A. Hines Media. By the way, check him out. I'll put a link somewhere if you need anything done, especially with search engine optimization or getting your name out there. He's really quite a smart guy, and he's really fun to work with, and he's very clever. But anyway, A. Hines, AHYNES Media.com, I think. And but anyway, so these things will be more friendly for TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram. So anyway, check those out. The first one is already in the Patreon. I put it up there this morning, and I was still learning stuff. I've learned a lot. The next one will be better. And I was hacking and slashing. It's like, this is boring as F, and I took out about 3/4 of it. Oh, no. It's still 8 minutes long. So anyway, all right?
All right.
All right, here we go.
Today's episode is brought to you by Angie. Angie has made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your jobs and projects done well. Let me tell you, there's the version of it where you try to do something at home, and then there's a version of it where you have someone help you, you watch them do it the right way, and you go, thank God I didn't try to do that myself. I have fully done things around the home that I think look good, and then a bang in the night, and I wake up to a shelf collapsing, a painting falling off the wall. I've seen it all go south. I own a home, and I can tell you, I know how much work it can take. Whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality, it can be hard just to know where to start. But now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Whatever your home project, big or small, indoor or outdoor, you can Angie that and connect with skilled professionals to get the project done well. Right now, one of my wish lists is I want a bike for my condo in Milwaukee, and I would love to rig it up on a pulley in the ceiling because I have one of those lofted ceilings, but I'm so scared to try that on my own. Angie has 20 years of home experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly, which means you can take care of any home project in just a few taps. Because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Hey, Dr. Steve, this is Jeff. My right testicle hangs much lower in the scrotum than the left one. I've had a vasectomy, so I know they both work. I have 4 children,
right?
4 sons. But why does
you don't know both of them
so
work
much lower than the other?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. No, that's a great question. And the answer is because that's normal. If you take a mirror and hold it up to half your face and then look in a mirror and then angle it so that this half is reflected onto the other half so that it looks like you look completely different.
Yes.
Our faces are asymmetrical. Women will tell you their breast size is asymmetrical.
Sure.
And you're, we're so used to things being equal because we're in a world where we have things that are engineered. And it would be striking to me if all of our nuts just hung, at the same length because of the way that they're made.
Right, sure.
Right.
What do you think about most people have a hand that's a little bit longer than the other or feet that are a little bit larger than the other one?
You don't think about that.
Yeah, you don't think about that. But in the testicles, you'll look at it and think, oh, God.
Right.
Something's wrong. My foot's a half a size larger on the left, but that's not a big deal. But if my testicle's hanging low, then
that's weird, right? Right. We have a general sort of bilateral symmetry. If you take a line and put it through the top of your head between your eyes, bisect your nose, there will be some general symmetry. You got 2 kidneys, you've got 2 iliac arteries. You only have 1 liver and 1 spleen, though, and they're on one side or the other. The heart's not symmetrical, but our hands tend to be. But, again, one's maybe bigger than the other, maybe pudgier than the other. Certainly, I can do more things with my right hand than I can with my left. And, again, the breast size thing and stuff like that. So we just tend to be asymmetrical. Think how these things are constructed. They're just held up there with this cremaster muscle and these, ligaments, and the vas deferens sort of, is a tube that holds these things up, and they're just not ever going to be complete. If I saw somebody who their nuts were perfectly symmetrical, I would assume that they were. The only time that's the case is when they're pulled up against the body.
Yeah.
If they're hanging low, just by the nature of how we are constructed, they're going to be asymmetrical.
Good. Agreed. Yep. Yeah, and the funny thing is, but you look at the baby studies about how when they look at a face symmetry, they always go to that symmetry first. So anytime we see anything that's a little bit off, it makes us go, wait a minute.
Well, we are programmed to see faces.
Yeah.
So that's why if you take a circle and you put 2 dots and a
line
semicircle, it'll look like a face does.
Yeah, right.
Because that's a biological advantage for us to be able to recognize faces. But it's pretty interesting. So we see faces in everything.
Yeah.
Clouds and just any kind of formation. If you look hard enough, you'll see a face in it. Now, with regard to this guy's testicular issue, if he has pain, swelling, redness, any kind of weird discharge, anything like that, or if one is growing suddenly or he notices that it's changing size, that's a different story altogether.
Sure.
Then that needs to be checked out. Some primary cares can handle it. Urologists certainly can handle it. Sure. All right. We doing the 3-minute timer, Tacie?
Oh, God. No.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot all about it.
Okay. Now, when you weren't here...
We are now.
When you weren't here, Tacie, we instituted a thing where we can request a 1 minute.
Yeah, it's called cheating.
No, it's not. It's called having a system.
It's vital.
And the system is we're going to do 3 minutes.
No, it's like we have 3 minutes, but then when we want more, we just take more.
No, we can take one minute. If we can request... They do it in Congress, for fuck's sake. We can do it here.
It's like, what we need, Steve? We need like to have it in the NFL where we're going to request more time. We'll throw a flag.
Yeah, I think the other two should have to agree, and if one says yes and one says no, then it goes because that's that's
which
2
way
people.
I'm going. All right, let's go.
And I'm gonna vote with her anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, well that's fine.
Lord and Lady Douchebag.
Yeah, thank you.
Lord and Lady Douchebag.
Hey, I may be dumb, but I'm not stupid.
See, that's the things that are coming out of your mouth, child. babbling, insanity, delusions.
Which is why we have the 3-minute timer.
I hear you. All right. Now I don't remember where the hell we were. Okay. So we did asymmetric hang. This is a good one for Scott.
Hey, Dr. Steve. This is Tony. I have a question about back problems. I was on pain medicine for a long time, 17 years actually.
Okay.
And I got off of them, went on Kratom. For about the last 4 years, it's maintained my back. I've had 2 back surgeries during those 17 years, and the pain is coming back significantly.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what my options may be going forward. Thanks, Dr. Steve.
Yeah, man. So he got off of opioids.
We need more time already.
Yeah, we're going to need more time on this one. He got off of opioids and went on to Kratom. Do you want to talk about Kratom for a second? I can talk a little bit about it.
Well, so you start with the Kratom, and I'll start with the back.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. So it's been used in Southeast Asia for years to treat fatigue and cough and diarrhea and opioid withdrawal and stuff like that. The thing is, it's a very interesting molecule that I think deserves to be studied. And we could go to clinicaltrials.gov and see if anybody's actually doing these studies. But, it was regulated as an herbal product by the FDA. It was considered legal. And several states have, banned the sale and possession. But the thing is that it does stimulate the opioid receptor, which, by these moieties called mitragynines. And they are... anyway, they stimulate the opioid receptor. Right. So anything that stimulates the opioid receptor, like tramadol, which is not technically an opioid, causes opioid-like effects. And when you withdraw it because of upregulation of the opioid receptor, you're going to have withdrawal. Sure. And but this stuff is also, my understanding, is an alkaloid. And so there are some really interesting potential benefits to either Kratom's active ingredient or one of their analogs. But anyway, go ahead. We probably have a minute and a half.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll make this quick as I can. But
I know why his pain's coming back. Go ahead. Well, at least get that in.
Well, at least, a couple things. First of all, he's had 2 surgeries already. We don't know exactly what he's had.
Right.
But let's just hypothesize maybe he had a laminectomy where they removed the part of the bone to give some space for the disc. And let's say maybe he had a fusion. And a lot of times, because that's how it happens in this kind of time frame. A lot of times you wind up having the disc above where they've had a fusion. That'll start to break down, and they'll wind up having to have extra surgeries. Right. So not really uncommon. A couple
the
things.
more surgeries you have, the less likely the next one's going to help.
Right, and it's all about load. But a couple other things he can do maybe prior to. Number one is going to be imaging, obviously, new imaging just to see if anything else is going on.
Yeah, of course.
But there are some other things you can do: radio frequency ablations, where they actually go and cauterize the nerves. You can do epidurals. Sometimes that'll help depending on what.
See a physiatrist or an anesthesiology pain
interventional
specialist.
Pain medicine.
Those are the two. Interventional pain medicine.
Yeah, non-pharmacological stuff.
The other thing that may be happening is he's developed tolerance to the Kratom.
Yeah, and he's getting some
because that is one of the things that happens with opioid receptor agonists is that the opioid receptor upregulates. In other words, it makes more.
Okay, just for interest, it's time.
Right. Okay, thank you.
I'll give you 1 minute.
Thank you.
And it... shit, I'm wasting my minute.
Yes, you are.
Thinking. But when you're upregulated, what happens is it raises.
I get distracted. I forget what the fuck I'm talking about.
Well, when you take those over time, your pain levels tend to go up and up and up.
Well, you need more and more to get the same effect. Right. That's correct. So, but anyway, that may be what's going on.
Yeah, and there are a bunch of other options that he can do. I mean, and sometimes Dr. Steve, you know as well as I do, sometimes you don't need another surgery. Maybe one of these non-pharmacological interventions will help, and then you can get back into physical therapy or yoga or
non-opioid.
Yeah, non-opioid stuff, yeah. So.
I've had 4 epidurals, and the last one I had has lasted 1.5 years now.
Yeah.
So
and you did a little acupuncture on the neck, and that helped a little bit.
Yeah, do everything but
the surgery are great if you have to have them.
and taking opioids, because opioids for low back pain aren't that great. Yeah. Now, okay, so in the time, there's one thing I just want to say.
Thumbs up.
One thing I want to say, and this is not has anything to do with his thing, so I reserve the right to talk on my own fucking show about what I want to talk about, is that Kratom itself, I don't like the idea that people are having to self-medicate out there. Right. And the reason that they're having to do that is because they can't get help, or they feel like they can't get help from the medical profession. Mm-hmm. And so, they're taking a drug that we don't know a lot about, and we don't know what the long-term effects are, and it would be nice if we had some research done and then had protocols for this stuff, so we'd know how much to give over what period of time and what beneficial, what are the benefits, alternatives, and the risks
Agreed.
to it.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No. All right.
Hi, Dr. Steve.
Whoa.
This is Matt.
Hey, Matt.
My question for you is, I have 100, but I'll just keep it simple for now.
Okay.
I have osteoarthritis in my feet, caused me a lot of ongoing pain. I've never really found anything that will ever help cure it. But then the one thing that, like, say I need to get through a day at Disney World or Disneyland or whatever, and I get to use prednisone.
Okay, his audio is terrible, but what he's saying is he has terrible osteoarthritis pain. Okay. I'm not starting the answer yet, Tace, so don't start.
This is still the question. This is still
the question. And we got the timer Nazi over there.
She's good at it now.
That's right. I know. So you have when he goes to somewhere like Disney World or something, if he takes prednisone, it makes his pain better. And I can relate because I'm on prednisone myself. Okay, you can start the timer. So do you want to talk a little bit about what prednisone is and why it helps, and then what the alternatives are?
Well, certainly, yeah. Prednisone's an anti-inflammatory, and it is a prescription drug.
You hear about non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. This is a steroidal anti-inflammatory. It's actually a corticosteroid.
And it works systemically on arthritis, and it can be really beneficial on osteoarthritis or any kind of inflammatory thing. Yeah. I mean, even we'll use a lot for people that get bad poison ivy.
Correct.
So it can be used
inflammatory bowel.
Yeah, inflammatory bowel. There are some other things that can actually possibly work similarly to prednisone, which would be non-pharmaceuticals, which would be something like curcuma, which is turmeric. Yep. And that's been shown in clinical trials to have a similar effect on arthritis-related inflammation and pain.
Yeah. Turmeric or whatever you want to call it does work like a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, but it seems to have fewer downsides,
especially on the stomach and the gut. Prednisone, and Dr. Steve, you can talk a lot more about this, but oral prednisone over a long period of time has a lot of side effects.
Yep.
Specifically on the gut.
Right.
Specifically on, Tacie, how much time we got?
Tace knows something about that.
Tacie, yeah, go ahead, Tacie. Yeah.
Prednisone?
Yeah.
I don't know jack about prednisone.
Yes. Oh, my God. Okay. Used to sell a drug that you would give to people that were on prednisone to protect their gut. But anyway, it can irritate the stomach
lining, certainly.
It basically, what is it, Tace? It reduces the prostaglandin lining.
I don't
in the
even
stomach.
know what drug you're talking about.
Prednisone. I see she's over there reading. She looks at the counter and then tunes everything else out.
Yep.
I'm busy over here.
So prednisone can break down the prostaglandin, which is the lining of the stomach, which leads to ulcers.
Higher doses over a long period of time, diabetes, Cushing's disease, which you get a big fat face or moon face. And not to be confused with Vinnie Paulino, because that's his nickname by a certain person.
Changes in blood sugar.
You get a hump in your back and stuff like that.
Changes in serum blood sugar,
Increase your risk of heart attack and stroke and stuff. So you want to pulse this stuff over short periods of time if you can. Now, there are some people who have to take it every day.
Yes.
And that's a whole different thing, but we don't recommend that. Turmeric does inhibit cyclooxygenase 2 or COX-2, non-toxic concentrations of curcumin have significant effect on certain cells that require COX-2 expression, so that's how they know. And, but it seems to not have...
Time's up.
Oh, rats.
I can finish my sentence though, right?
Yes.
The
Again?
effects on heart attack and stroke. Wait, you just want me to... Okay. Okay,
Next.
well, just, do a big teaser for...
Good luck with Apprentice.
Right. So, but the most important thing is time. Okay, well, Tacie says we have to move on.
So the bottom line is for osteoarthritis.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll say, so can we have an extra 30
Yes,
seconds?
you can.
So for
Apparently
the bottom
you
line
can do whatever you want to do.
Well, I'm not married to her, so I get a little bit of a break.
Wow.
But but there in lieu of prednisone, there are a lot of other options out there, and
correct.
some of those things are dietary changes. Sometimes you can eat foods that cause inflammation, and maybe that's making his osteoarthritis worse. There's a lot of other things you can do.
Yeah,
stretching.
Right. The prednisone is great because it works so well,
Right.
but there are other things that he could try.
Yep.
And he should experiment with things that are maybe less. But if he's taking it for 2 or 3 days, no big deal.
Yeah, call back and give us another question so we can answer the rest of.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, Dr. Steve.
Hey, man.
I want your unbiased opinion
Okay.
on
No, it will be biased, but it will be biased by scientific evidence.
getting testosterone replacement.
Yeah.
I have high blood pressure. That's my main concern. And yes, I know that they can do continuous tests to monitor it. But is it risky still anyways? Let me know how it's still going with you. Do you also get used to it and have to do more and more and more, kind of like any drug?
No.
Or
Nope. Yeah, it's weird.
let me know.
You don't really develop tolerance to testosterone because you're replacing a hormone that should be there and it's just too low. And so you take enough to get the hormone levels up to the place you want them to be. There are some doctors and other providers who think and make the argument that you need a cycle. In other words, 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. So those are the people that advocate doing injections. Or 1 week on and 1 week off, so that you get that peak in the beginning, and then you get a trough, and then you get a peak and a trough as you continue to inject yourself. There are others that think that a constant supply is more physiologic.
A low dose constantly.
So they'll do pellets, where you don't have to do anything for 6 months, or the gel where you put it on every day.
Yeah, I've been taking testosterone replacement for at least 15 years.
Yeah,
and I no tolerance changes whatsoever.
No, yeah, right.
Same dose of.
Matter of fact,
for 15 years. Yeah.
I thought, hey, I'll just increase my dose.
Oh,
and I went from 2 pumps to 3, and that was a mistake.
Yeah,
all of a sudden, my red blood cell count was elevated.
Yes,
I had
sure.
polycythemia,
Right.
meaning that it was abnormally elevated. I was producing way too many red blood cells, and my blood pressure was up and stuff like that. So as long as you're bringing yourself to your normal level, then you are physiologic, and the risk is the same as any other dude who has a normal testosterone level.
Right.
So there are risks to being male.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And try to figure out some other ways to take care of your blood pressure. Sometimes if you have a high enough testosterone, it makes you want to exercise, and that'll help lower your blood pressure.
Yeah,
So possibly.
Yep.
Yeah. But you just
Beetroot, I found, was
pay
very
attention to it.
effective
Just pay
for
attention.
my blood pressure. When I ran out of it, and I need to make some more, my blood pressure came back up. So. Yeah, and all of a sudden this has turned into, whole food pharmacy, FARMACY, and I'm not really like that. But I had to find alternatives to pharmaceutical drugs because they were killing me.
Yes.
So isn't that interesting how things turn around? Yeah.
Yes.
No, there's
time, yes.
there's uses for all this stuff.
Absolutely every drug has some need.
All right.
Oh, look.
No, we do. We
27 seconds
Okay,
left.
we'll add that to our next one. Then we got 3
Nope,
minutes.
that's not how it
57 seconds. No, I reclaim my time, Mr. President. All right.
We got 3:30.
All right. Let's see here. Anything from the fluid family there, Dr. Scott?
Let me look back here. And see
Okay,
if I
well,
missed
you
it.
look. Well, I'm going to do this. One says organoids for Tacie, and I do not know what this means.
Oh, no.
Yeah, let's see what this is.
Hey, Tacie, it's Pete in Connecticut. I was just listening to your time of topics about the chimeric pigs and thought I'd offer you another topic that you might want to cover, which are these...
Now, chimeric pigs are pigs that have two different sets of DNA.
Brain tissue organoids. Apparently, researchers have coaxed skin stem cells into becoming human brain tissue and organized them into little blobs of brain tissue that then grow their own sort of eye organs
Get the
and
hell
are
out of here.
capable of sensing light, they've shown.
Ooh.
And now they're implanting them into rats or mice.
No,
who've
don't
had
do that.
The visual center of their brains chopped out, and these rats are incorporating the human
Get
brain
the hell
organoids
outta here.
into their own brains, and they're vascularizing and possibly restoring sight to these little lab mice. You want to talk about moral quandary. Are these organoids sentient? Do they have the possibility of any self-awareness? And are they even potentially human? They're grown in a freaking lab. And now if they're talking about curing blindness with these things, what happens when you put another brain inside your brain?
Right.
Do you now have two of you?
Okay.
Hey, Tacie, it's Pete in Connecticut. Hey, Tacie, it's Pete in Connecticut.
Thank you for Pete's time of topics.
Wow.
It's very interesting.
Okay, so that's not a question, so we can wax eloquent.
No,
on
we're
this.
going to...
No.
3 minutes.
No.
Starting now.
Talk fast.
Okay. So these are little collections of cells. They may, rather than having whatever, how many cells does the human brain have?
A bunch.
Yeah, let me hang on a second. Echo, how many cells does the human brain have? Oh, she doesn't know.
The human brain contains approximately 80 million cells, although the exact number varies depending on...
That's it? 80 million?
That seems really low.
Mine has significantly less.
Billion. Yeah.
Well, okay, it has way more connections than that. But these organoids, they are grown in the lab from stem cells. And they have different cell types, neurons, glia, and they can make sort of an organized architecture. But they're the size of a grain of rice, and I am going to say that these things are not sentient. Now, would they be able to augment sentience in somebody? Like, could you design one of these to increase your ability to do math or to turn everybody into Mozart in the future? You know, be able to write symphonies at 4 years of age? Maybe. But the fact that you're taking these stem cells and putting it in someone else's brain to stimulate their eyesight or something like that really isn't that different than putting a heart in a heart transplant or something like that. It's just basically a mechanism. These things don't have the memories of the person because memories are not just encoded in the cells, they're encoded in the connections that the synapses make after the cells form. That's the thing. So it's not really possible that you're going to take someone's personality, although it would make a fun science fiction movie, and I'm already working on the treatment in my head right now. Now, they think that these organoids could be used in artificial intelligence. There was a study published in Nature Electronics reported that brain organoid tissue can be connected to a silicon computer chip and trained to recognize human speakers. Now, that still is not sentience. That's, pattern recognition and stuff like that. Okay. The large language models that we're using now are not sentient. I don't care how many people talk to these things and get fooled into thinking that they are. The Turing test really isn't a real test for sentience, but they are unthinking left parts of the brain. So the left brain processes speech, you knock it out, the person is still alive, they can still function to a certain extent, but they can't speak anymore. Okay. If you just take out just the speech section of the brain...
I'm sorry, Steve, I'm going to have to stop you there.
There's no cognition, going on, but it would be able to process speech. These things are just little circuits that fit in the brain.
Wow.
Okay?
Cool.
That's cool, though.
That's good stuff.
Yep.
Hey, and I do have a couple questions if you want something.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
you need one,
Yeah.
Hey, let's go back. Let's go back to steroids. So, why do I get so ragey if I have to take steroids?
Yeah.
That's a pretty common thing.
Well, there's stress hormones.
Yeah.
And look, what we found in the human body, like when you do EMDR, this is a technique for processing information in counseling. And what they found is if you're in REM sleep, your eyes move back and forth, right? Mm-hmm. So you're processing information while you're in REM sleep. But if you just make your eyes go back and forth, you'll still stimulate that circuit to process information. So the tail can wag the dog and it will, have the same effect. So if you are under stress, you'll produce these hormones and you'll have all those symptoms of stress. Yep. But if you take the hormones, that will cause you to have the same symptoms as if you were under stress, even if you're perfectly relaxed. And that's what it is. Those are stress hormones, and they affect people's sleep, may make them eat more, and make them more irritable over time.
Right on.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
That's a super good question.
You got another one?
Yeah, I've got two more good ones.
Oh,
actually.
good. Yeah.
So let's see. Hey, Dr. Scott, Dr. Steve, can cervical stenosis cause brain fog?
Oh,
now that is...
Because of the stellate ganglion, maybe.
Depending on the level of the stenosis.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Would be my first
thing.
So
talk about what they're talking about. Explain it to the layperson.
So stenosis can happen anywhere in any part of the body.
Stenosis is.
Well, I'm getting there, for God's sake.
Shit, you're not.
You're wasting
a narrowing of a space.
There you go.
So
very good. Thank you.
It's a narrowing of a space. It can occur anywhere. Blood vessels, bones. It can occur. But what we're talking about is inside the spinal cord itself,
right?
In the spinal column. And if that space becomes too thin, it's just like if I've said before, if you got a water hose and you grab it and you start squeezing the water hose really hard.
Yep.
There's still water going to be going through, but a lot of that water is going to hit your hand and not pass through and creates a blockage. So what he's asking is if he's got a cervical stenosis, if that can cause brain fog. So real quick, typically
it's actually known to decrease cognition in certain situations.
Because it does. It limits the flow of the cerebrospinal fluid in and out of the brain. It limits the nerve impulses that can move in and out of the brain too. Yeah. And what we'll see a lot of
that's the important thing.
Right. So both of those things
limits the brain ability to interpret what the body is sending it.
Right.
And it ends up getting just foggy because it's getting incomplete information.
Right. And if the cervical fluid is not moving in and out of there, which does help with waste that occurs inside the brain, also with nutrients getting in and out, medicines or whatever, it certainly can cause brain fog. So yes.
I would tell this person to Google cervical myelopathy, MYELOPATHY, because that's really the condition that causes that's thought to cause brain fog when you've got stenosis of the spinal column and the neck.
And there are some treatments for spinal stenosis that are non-interventional necessarily. There are some stretches you can do, and certainly maybe some light traction, depending. But you need
a traction device.
But you've got to have imaging done first,
right?
So we don't want to be tugging or poking on anything that we don't know what we're tugging or poking on.
Correct.
Because a stenosis could be from anything from a tumor to a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So have it worked up first. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And don't, I used to take people's necks and go with those, and I learned not to do that because there have been a couple of people who've had fatal strokes from having that done. Yeah. So just be gentle with yourself, but look up cervical myelopathy. Talk to your primary care, and maybe they can help you out.
Lots of interventions.
All right, very good. All right, before we get out of here, I understand you've got at least one more over there, Dr. Scott.
Yeah,
I want to say just one thing about brain fog in general.
Yeah, sure.
One thing that, and Tacie, you talk about this. I grew lion's mane's mushrooms. I dehydrated them. I extracted them, dual extraction with 60% alcohol and then with water, and then ultrafiltrated them or ultrafiltered them and combined the two, so it ended up in a 30% alcohol tincture.
Okay.
and I guess it's an elixir because we talked about that last time. An elixir can be anything, but this is technically a tincture because it does have alcohol in it. Tacie's been taking it in a dropper full in her coffee every morning.
What?
And
I just started a couple of days ago.
Well, she was going to work.
What about that?
She was going to work and said, I'm just so tired and I just don't want to do it. And I said, well, try this and see.
Sure.
And, there is obviously some placebo effect possibility.
And
but what do
my
you think,
thyroid was all screwed up. And so there's a lot of factors going on.
Well, going to work.
So what did you think about it?
I mean, it was the 13 hours that I sometimes have to work a week is very difficult.
It's awful.
It really is.
Was it beneficial when you took it, do you think? Do you think it helped?
So far, I mean, it's a little early because I changed a lot of things at once:
Yeah,
the
that's a problem.
thyroid medicine and the tincture or whatever. And so I'm not sure yet, but I have not felt as foggy.
That's a fair answer. Yeah, that's a fair answer.
Yeah.
Right. So cool. Yeah, but there are a lot of other things we do for
Highly recommend trying lion's mane, but make sure it's dual extracted, not lion's mane powder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What else? What have you guys got in traditional Chinese medicine?
You know what?
And if you say astragalus, I swear to God.
Well, you mean other than astragalus, of course. we do. So obviously we'll do acupuncture on the neck and on the head, and I do a little bit of it's Tuina, which is muscle energy.
Well, I've never heard you talk about that. What's Tuina?
Tuina is almost like a kind of an
I'm starting
osteopathic
at 3 minutes.
bone setting.
No, we're in overtime.
So I do like a craniosacral technique for brain fog, especially if it's a traumatic brain fog. So let's say somebody
Tuina is a drug or it's a thing?
It's a procedure. Tuina. It's a type of like
What's it stand for?
Well, it's Chinese body manipulation.
Oh,
yeah, Chinese
okay.
it's Tuina. So it's a form of Chinese body manipulation.
I see.
Kind of like a chiropractic kind of thing,
I
or
gotcha.
myofascial thing. But I'll do so like if somebody slips and hits their head. And I see it all the time in the wintertime. People slip and fall on ice, and they'll send them to me if they've still got brain fog, and I'll do those things. They normally get better.
Well,
so
okay.
That's pretty cool. Yep.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things you can do. Try to figure out what's causing it.
Tuina,
Tuina.
5,000 years old.
There you go.
Of chiropractic,
exactly.
kind of.
We call it bone. Yeah, we call it bone setting.
Okay. Yeah,
to be
cool.
keep the chiropractors happy.
Interesting. Okay, you said you had another one.
One more question here. This is from Delco Lou. Hey, Dr. Steve. Recently had a colonoscopy. 4 out of 5 polyps were able to be removed. The 5th was too large, and I need to go to another medical center for a second try. Should I be concerned?
Okay, so here's the thing. Some people just make polyps.
Yep.
And they're completely benign. They're called hyperplastic polyps. And my question to Delco Lou, if he can give us that, there's a little bit of delay with the fluid family, but were any of those polyps that they took out, the 4 out of the 5, were any of them anything other than benign? Right. And the good news is that the polyp stage is even if it were precancerous or emerging cancer, it's so early that most of the time that can be treated right then and there in the colonoscopy suite. It usually takes a round. I mean, the thought is you get an adenomatous polyp, which is the glandular type of polyp. Those are the naughty ones. Mm-hmm. And it'll take 10 years for it to go from the early polyp stage till it turns into cancer. And then it takes even more time before it invades and then metastasizes. So if you do your colonoscopies starting at age 45 or earlier, if you have a first-degree relative that had it,
right.
If you had a first-degree relative that had colon cancer at, 47, you want to do your first colonoscopy at 37. But anyway,
okay.
Yeah. So, but 45 is the new 50,
right?
And you do these things, and as long as you do them on a regular schedule, they'll catch stuff before it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And that's also why you want to do a really good prep. Follow the prep exactly, because if you've got stool covering up a small polyp, then they may miss it. Mm-hmm. That will then have 10 years before you get your next thing, and it'll be there.
Then it'll be a problem. Maybe a problem.
But this thing may have been, most polyps are what we call pedunculated. They look like a punching bag, but some of them are sessile, and it's a lot harder to grab one of those. So, if they can't get it, they'll scrape it, look at it under the microscope. If it looks poopy, then they'll go in and they'll just take it out.
Yes, and he said they've been sent for biopsy, so they don't have the result.
He doesn't have the result.
Yeah.
Well, just email me. I mean, you go to our website, drsteve.com, and click contact. I think that still works. If not, I don't care to give out my email address. It just, drsteve202@gmail.com. Okay?
Yep.
All right.
Cool, man.
All right. We got anything else? Is that it?
That's it.
Taste, you got anything?
Thank you.
Nope.
All right. Well, thanks. Go to Dr. Scott. Thanks to Tacie. Thanks to everyone who's made this show happen over the years. Thank you to the Fluid family who lies in wait in the waiting room at youtube.com/@weirdmedicine. Listen to where Myrtle Manus gives out 20 memberships every month or every week. Mm-hmm. Listen to our SiriusXM show on the Faction Talk channel, SiriusXM channel 103, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, on demand and other times at Jim McClure's pleasure. Many thanks to our listeners whose voicemail and topic ideas make this job very easy. Go to our website, drsteve.com, for schedules, podcasts, and other crap. Until next time, check your stupid nuts for lumps, quit smoking, get off your asses, and get some exercise. We'll see you in 1 week for the next edition of Weird Medicine. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.